You might have heard about this viral tweet where somebody said they made a Jira replacement back in March, and here it is August, and they decided that it was a disaster and they're going to go back to paying for Jira. It was interesting to me because a lot of people use this as an example of how SaaS replacement can't actually happen. It's not real. The SaaS apocalypse isn't going to happen. And it's funny because I looked at the profiles of all the people who were saying this, and of course most of them worked at SaaS companies, so I get it. And actually I believe this story. I believe that it happened the way that he said it did, because they even said right there in the tweet that it was a QA guy who built it, not an engineer. So yeah, of course it wasn't going to work. I'll do the white limba. So anyway, this has got me thinking. And the obvious main issue here is that they didn't have an engineer building it. But that's not the only thing. They probably also didn't plan a real cutover. If I was doing this, I would have built a two-way sync with the existing Jira and have it so that people could work in either system for a while, find the bugs in the first system, while they're still able to go back to the old Jira instance to do whatever they needed to. But the bigger question is, does SaaS replacement ever work? Obviously, I think so, because that's what I do. But again, in this case, as with all of them, I think people just aren't running the economics. So they had this QA engineer do that on the side. Maybe that guy got paid 100, 150, I don't know. A lot of the companies that I work with, their Jira bill is something like $250,000, sometimes more. So what does it take to actually rebuild Jira? For starters, no company that I've ever seen uses more than 20% of the features in Jira. So if you're rebuilding Jira, you only have to do 20% of it, which is cool. If I had to staff somebody to do that, I'd send an agent in with the API and also double it up with a browser to audit how they're actually using it and get an actual number. Like I would say at the end of that, you're using 27% of Jira. Here's a markdown file with all the features that you're using. This is what we need to rebuild. And then you have your PRD, as people like to call it. Okay, so like it's all the task management. You've got to connect it to SSO. You got to have roles and permissions. In an ideal world, we've already done that because we've already built some other operating system. But let's say we haven't, and you have to start from scratch. So we've got to rebuild all the basic task management features, commenting, @mentions, projects, spaces, provisioning, all of that stuff. What does that really take? Honestly, it's maybe 2 people for 3 months, really 1.5, if they're competent and if you're using reusable componentry and you're not trying to create SSO from scratch. So anyway, it's probably always a bad idea to go into specific numbers in a YouTube video that's going to last forever when prices change. But realistically, at a 60% gross margin, I could probably rebuild Jira with a small team of 1 to 3 on and off in 90 days at, I don't know, somewhere around 100 to 200K. That's with my profit margin built in. And that's me on the hook for this. Like, it has to be done right. You could do it internally for cheaper, for sure, if you have the right people. But either way, if you're paying $250,000 a year and you can get it for, call it 120, the break even is pretty quick. Risk is pretty low. I guess I just don't understand. That's completely different than having a random QA guy build it out. So I don't know. To each their own. I know that most people are not believers yet in the SaaS apocalypse, which is totally fine. I'm ready to be the odd man out there for a little while, but it's coming. The economics are just too clear. Okay, let's build this bowl.